today's story is about a slug. Now, I know there are lots of people who do not like slugs. They think they're icky and sticky and slimy and grimy, but I am not one of those people. I am particularly fond of slugs. I always have been. I just always want to touch them. I also really like snails, and slugs and snails are incredibly similar. So, I would like to tell you a couple of things about slugs, and maybe by the end of this you'll love them too. So slugs. There are over 40 different types of slug in the UK alone. 40? That's a lot of different types of slug, I hear you cry. Why yes, it is. 40 different types, goodness, and I'm sure you've seen quite a lot of them. You get those tiny ones, then you get the really bulbousy ones. Now, slugs have a foot underneath. I know, you wouldn't think it. So they're long and they've got a little foot underneath, and that's what makes them move. So in order for them to move, they need to contract, which is a fancy word here that means squeeze, that foot and release it, and that's what makes them slug along. And as they do that, they secrete, which means let out, mucus, the sticky slimy stuff that you see as slugs go along, and that helps them to move. So it's got two purposes. That it's to help them to move, and it's to help them find their way back home. And they have it like a little trail, like breadcrumbs in Hansel and Gretel. So they leave that trail, so then they go, oh, where was I living? Oh, follow the trail. Here I am. Now, another thing I'd like to tell you about slugs is that they have two pairs of tentacles. They have the upper pair of tentacles and the lower ones. Now, the upper ones are their eyes, so they use those for seeing. And if for any reason they get chopped off, they can regrow them. How cool would it be to regrow your eyes? Oh, my eye's fallen out. Don't worry, lads. Ping! Got myself another eye. Clever. They also use their eyes to smell with. I'm not sure I'd like eyes that I can use to smell with. And their second pair of tentacles, their lower ones, they are used for feeling and tasting. Fancy that? Now, slugs are eaten by lots of different creatures. Hedgehogs eat them, birds eat them, toads eat them, and some bugs, some beetles eat them too. Crikey, sucks to be a slug. Now, what else did I want to tell you? I think that might be it, but basically, slugs are cool. So next time you see a slug, have a little look at it, watch the way it moves, or give it a leaf, because it's actually really interesting to watch slugs and snails eat. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So, underneath their second pair of tentacles, their lower ones, they have a sort of mouth system. It's not exactly a tongue, it's a tongue type thing. And the tongue type thing is covered in tiny teeth called denticles. So they have two sets of tentacles and one set of denticles. Now, I think we're ready for our story. Today's story is Slug Needs a Hug. It is by Jean Willis and Tony Ross. Are you ready? Get your teddy and snuggle down, for Slug Needs a Hug. Once upon a timey, there was a little slimy, spotty, shiny, whiny slug. He was wet and weedy, very, very needy, and always greedy for a hug. His mummy didn't hug him. It began to bug him, and he wondered, why, oh why? Is she never snuggly because I am so ugly? Said Sluggy with a soggy little sigh. He spoke to other creatures with very different features and asked them what they thought to do to make himself more huggable, less slithery and sluggable, for sadly, Sluggy didn't have a clue. Perhaps if you were furrier and fluffier and purrier, said Kitten, then your mum would hug you tight. So Slug put a woolly hat on with a picture of a cat on and a furry jacket just in case she might. You look funny, chummy. If you want a hug from mummy, said Bird, you need some feathers and a beak. Piglet roared with laughter. If it's hugs the slug is after, he needs trotters and a tail and a squeak. With trotter's tail and coat and beak and feathers, Slug met Goat, who told him that he looked a little weird. If you want a hug, my friend, you need horns stuck on the end, and get yourself a handsome goatee beard. Slug did as Goat suggested, and he sensibly invested in some horns and a moustache made out of string. Moth looked aghast and muttered, and whispered as he fluttered, "Slug, you need some wings, you silly little thing." Slug made himself a pair. He couldn't fly into the air. His wings were scarlet petals from a rose. Although he smelled delightful, Fox declared that he looked frightful, and he'd never get a hug without a nose. "Should I lose the beak," thought Slug, "if I really want a hug? Would Mummy love me more with just a snout?" There was very little space to wear them both upon his face, but Sluggy did, in case of any doubt. Slug gazed into the brook at his astonishing new look and barely recognised his own reflection. "If she doesn't hug you now, then she never will," said Cow, as she gave the Slug a head-to-toe inspection. Hoping Cow was right, Slug chugged slowly home that night to show his mum his fabulous disguise. But after all he'd done, she didn't recognise her son. "Mother, it's me," said Slug. "Surprise!" "But I love you as you are. You're the sweetest Slug by far," said Ma. "You have been very greatly missed. You're beautiful and charming. If I could, I'd hug you, darling." But alas, she had no arms, and so they kissed. There they are snuggling, and there they are having a kiss. Ah, so it's not that she didn't want to hug him. Slugs just don't have any arms. Ay, 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 silly Slug. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that story. I think you'll agree it's pretty fabulous. And that's it from me. If you're enjoying this, don't forget to click like or subscribe or both. And I'll see you soon. Night!